So we come to the third werehog level. And as you can see, my health bar is a lot bigger because I had to re-record this footage later into the game. Because, well, let me explain. I first tried to record this game using my laptop until I got to the third werehog level. And then it messed up the footage for this. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it had a lot of bright white walls in it, and so it created too strong of a lighting that created energy spikes or something. Like, I don't know, like, I was recording stuff just fine with my laptop for months before this. And, I mean, occasionally there was the corrupted footage. Like, I tried to record the Bonfire Festival of Magical Melody. You'll see that much later. But it messed up. I guess it was because it was too bright of a lighting. But yeah, I don't know why the footage for this messed up, but I had to re-record it all over again, along with all of the cutscenes after this. Thank God the game allows you to collect cutscenes and re-watch them so I can re-record them. Although I could have just gotten them from YouTube. But my point is, that was an ordeal. Anyways, this level is pretty wide open. It's a stark contrast from the other two werehog levels, which were more about claustrophobic narrow hallways. For some reason, you can't break down these boulders with a special attack. You have to do the punch attack. Yeah, that makes sense. Even though the special attack is supposed to be stronger, you'd think that it would destroy them in one blow. But yeah, this place is pretty wide open, but it's obvious where you need to go, regardless. So, really the only problem with the whole wide open thing is that it's a little harder to find hidden items. And see how quicker the enemies are defeated when you go back to earlier levels when you're stronger? Like, I think I defeated those bees in just 2 hits. I really wish that I could have showed you the original footage for this. Because this took longer when I first played it. Although it was perfectly fine even when I first played it. Like it really wasn't that bad. In fact, this level, even when I first played it, it took me only like 5 minutes to beat it, which is mercifully short for a werehog level. But yeah, don't you just love the battle music? Don't you just love how they play the same battle theme over and over again every time you have to fight enemies? There's a reason that most beat-em-ups don't have battle music. And it's so annoying how they always start out the battle music from the beginning. So you're gonna get really sick of hearing the beginning of that battle music over and over and over again. Like, why can't they just start it off the second time you hear it at the last point where it left off? That would have been more tolerable. That's part of the reason why when I used the werehog battle music for when I was defeating a whole bunch of enemies in the combat rooms in Ganon's tower, I just started it off from the last point at which it was, rather than starting it off from the very beginning every single time it played again. Because that would be the only way you'd be able to hear the entire song. Unless you're in a really long battle, you're generally not going to be able to hear the entire song. This is Unleashed mode. What you do is that you press the Y button to go into Unleashed form. This is something that Chip never tells you about, by the way. You have to play a mission in order to learn about it. Unleashed mode makes your attacks twice as strong and makes you move twice as fast, which is really cool. And you also have different attacks, like, or I guess they have different animations, but they're stronger. I'm not really sure on the specifics, I haven't played the werehog in a while. But when I first played this game, at least for the beginning anyways, I didn't really see the point of the Unleashed mode. Like, the first time I ever used it was when I was mashing buttons furiously in front of the first Shadow Gate because I didn't know what to do with it. So I used up my Unleashed mode after I defeated all the enemies and wasted it. You can collect a whole bunch of red orbs as items in the levels, and they give you more for your boost for your Unleash meter, which is useful. but you want to save the Unleash mode for when you have a lot of enemies to fight. A lot of people say that Tails is portrayed as a wimp here, but like he's a little kid. It makes him sympathetic, and I think it would have been better if they showed him trying to spin dash them and it not being effective, because that would have made it more obvious that they're too tough for him to defeat. Although I'm not sure why he didn't just fly away and fly home.
That's a new look. What happened?
You know me. Never a dull moment. Want some
I
chocolate?
like that. I like that line. And, oh.
Thanks.
He's so forced into this cutscene. I like to point out the foxes die if they eat chocolate, by the way. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Tails is immune to it since he's a humanoid Mobian fox, but still. It implies that he's trying to kill him off to replace him as a sidekick. Like, seriously, I can't stress enough how annoying it is that Chip is replacing him as a sidekick in this game. I mean, look at Chip! Is this really someone that you want to be the sidekick to Sonic in all of the games? No! Like, a lot of his dialogue is stuff that Tails should be saying. Why isn't Tails having trust issues with Sonic over this in this game, rather than in Lost World, where it comes out of nowhere? Although I would have preferred it if Tails had trust issues and he was more sad, rather than moody and bratty. And then Sonic would have apologized to him, and then they would have become hanging out together more. And that way, most of the cutscenes would have been more tolerable because Tails would have been there as well as Chip. Still don't like this plane, by the way. I really liked the Tornado 2. And now I suffer through a long string of QuickTime events. Oh, right! That's right. The Wii version doesn't have the Tornado sections. Yet another reason the Wii version is better. You don't have to spend a really long time pressing randomized buttons, hoping that your entire health bar won't run out and you won't have to do the entire thing again. Why couldn't they just do the same thing that SA1 did with Tornado sections? Only improve it by giving it a good targeting system rather than just a really slow to work one that only lets you target stuff on the lower half of the screen.
He's gotta be real hungry by now.
Screw you, Chip.
If I was that hungry, I don't know how long I would last.
God,
I'd rather be dead.
what a way to ruin the drama and seriousness of the scene. And of course, no one questions this, even though this is so insulting to the audience. This is so insulting to our intelligence, and it completely breaks the immersion,
Let's go and find the professor.
ruining the point of having a story in the first place. So you go to Mazuri and select the mysterious hole area and the cutscene begins. Yeah, I lost a lot of footage. I'm sorry I couldn't show off me going through the hub world.
We got here as fast as we could.
And just in case you didn't think that one comedy relief character was enough,
Hello?
here we got this character, whose entire personality revolves around food. I mean, you're kidnapped. You should be grateful you're getting food at all. There's a way to do an eccentric professor right, and this is not it. I like Professor Farnsworth a lot more than this guy. Professor Farnsworth is so much more of an amusing and varied character than him, whose only personality is that he constantly talks about sandwiches, and he rants on like a food snob, as if there's only one proper way to have a sandwich. How does Tails know him? Tails is an engineer. He's an archaeologist. There's no reason that their interests should cross to the point where Tails should study under him. Not to mention Tails has never been to school. So how does he know him? The only thing that can imagine him teaching him is the exposition about Dark Gaia that he gives us later. And that's all done and over with in just one cutscene.
Oh, yes, quite. But let us be sure to collect the contents of
I don't like Professor Pickle. I don't understand why all the people who complain about human characters in Sonic games love this guy so much. Why is he the exception? He has such a bland and one-dimensional personality. I mean, I guess I like his voice. I prefer Kung Fu Juice's imitation of it instead.
Let's go. There's no time to lose.
But, like, why did Eggman kidnap him at all when couldn't Tails have just Googled the locations of the Gaia temples? He didn't really need this Mr. Exposition at all. I don't like the way he looks. I mean, I know they're going for a whole Pixar-esque design for the humans, and it certainly looks better than it did before, but he looks kind of fugly. I mean, how does he even see?
Some tens of thousands of years ago.
And now we get a really long, boring scene of exposition that none of us actually need to know in the first place, with Chip being a funny background event that really goes to drive home how forced he is into this plot.
Lies at the very core of the planet.
We don't need to know all of this. This whole theme of death and rebirth is unnecessarily bleak for a Sonic game. None of us need to know this. All of this shows up in this game and then never shows up again, and was never alluded to in any of the previous games. Why doesn't Light Gaia just seal Dark Gaia in a planet other than the Earth, so that when Dark Gaia inevitably breaks out of the planet for no reason, he doesn't destroy the planet? Light Gaia is supposed to protect the planet, so why doesn't he just seal Dark Gaia away in some planet light years away, rather than the planet that he's trying to prevent from being destroyed? Why is this whole light and dark theme, like, this is straight out Kingdom Hearts? Why is this in a Sonic game? And where does this even come from? This was such a boring cutscene. It all just shoves a whole bunch of exposition at you all at once. It really drives home how most of these cutscenes are just characters standing around talking, an action platformer. I like how all of the villagers are intimidated by him, which makes sense.
If you all behave, I won't have to do anything nasty. All you need to do is tell me where the Temple of Gaia is.
Can't you just send your robots to scour the perimeter and find it yourself? This just seems like overkill at this point. Why hasn't he scrapped him by now?
Dare to defy me, do you?
I don't understand why. I mean, it's good that most of the villagers are afraid of him backing away slowly, but that's easy to overlook.
Yo, Eggman!
And here Chip comes making Scrappy-Doo poses, making it incredibly obvious that he's forced into the plot as comedy relief for the kiddies.
What are you doing out here?
I just don't understand why that kid was like, Eggman should be feared as an international terrorist, feared
Wait! That's
all over the world. How did the professor's assistant not know who Eggman was? How did these villagers not immediately go, "Oh no, it's Dr. Eggman"? Instead, they're just like, throw a rock at him, whatever. Eggman bores me because he's too generic and one-dimensional, but I prefer him to be seen as a threat and intimidating, at least by the civilians. Like, with the heroes, it kind of sucks the dramatic tension out of the scenes and the story when the heroes don't take Eggman seriously at all, because they're supposed to be fighting against this guy. They're supposed to be making us motivated to beat this guy, and yet they aren't taken seriously at all. But I can sort of accept it because the heroes are used to fighting Eggman over and over again, constantly beating him. And plus, it's a psychological defense mechanism. They want to belittle him, because if they take him too seriously, then it can make them too intimidated of him, and kind of suck the fun out of defeating him. So I get that, but I don't get why the civilians wouldn't be intimidated by him. That kind of breaks the immersion, ruins the point of having a story in the first place. I like how all the Gaia temples look different from each other. Like, they could have very easily been lazy enough to make every Gaia temple look the same. Unfortunately, the Wii version, and this is a flaw that I definitely agree with, the Wii version does not have the day stage of Mazuri, but it also spares us from a Werehog stage. So, I don't know. I don't understand why the star-shaped doors lead to bosses. I mean, why can't you just have a Eggman symbol there to make it a lot more obvious that there's a boss? Like, I was surprised when I went into that star-shaped door and saw a boss. So yeah, we finally, for once, have a dramatic, cool, action-filled scene. I don't know why Eggman said that when he's the fastest thing alive. But yeah, we finally have an action-packed scene that takes the story seriously! Finally!
Behold,
We have a reason to actually care!
Go!
It's kind of unclear in both versions whether it's Eggman fighting in this thing or his sassy robot. Oh look! Chip ruins it by having a Scrappy-Doo moment again. And because it's a long silence where nothing happens, they could have easily cut him out of the scene and it would have been just fine, rather than him showing up at the very end and ruining the atmosphere they're trying to go for. It's like Chip is there to say, don't take anything in this seriously. Don't think this is cool at all. I always hated the daytime bosses in this game. In fact, I'd rather play Werehog levels from this. I hate how it doesn't matter that you're boosting at all, because no matter what you do, you can't get up to the boss faster. This really goes to show how doing a quick step doesn't really send you very far in one direction, which is normally good, but it really makes it obvious how when there's a line of rings on the very opposite side of the path, then you won't be able to get to no matter how much you mash the quick step. And of course they decided to make you switch from 3D to 2D constantly in this boss fight, because the boss was designed by idiots who don't realize how disorienting it is switching from 2D to 3D and back. I remember when I first played this game, it was so hard for me to realize which direction I was supposed to be holding. Like, you hold up to go forwards in the 3D section, but right to go forwards in the 2D section. So when you're going from 2D to 3D, Sonic drunkenly veers to the right because you're still holding right for being in 2D. They should only switch to 3D from 2D by using grind rails, where you don't really have to be holding up at all. Otherwise, it just creates problems. I had such a hard time with this boss fight when I first played it. And even now, I still hate it, because if you get hit by the... If you get hit at any point in this attack, like this, if you don't jump over this, then you get cheated out of your opportunity to attack. And rather than sending you into a 3D section so that you have an easier opportunity to attack him, it instead makes you repeat the 2D section all over again. I like how there's an obvious visual cue that he's about to attack you by he starts going all fiery, and so you just jump over him. But it's confusing. You have to boost and then jump to homing attack. Even though for the 3D section, you just boosted into him and that's how you attack him. So the challenge comes from suddenly switching up the rules on you. How are you supposed to get the idea to homing attack him when normally you'd expect to just boost into him when you did that in 3D sections? This boss can drag on forever because it doesn't let you just attack it in 3D section. This is a Sonic Rush boss battle where you have to wait for your opportunity to attack. Do you remember the classic boss fights where you could just defeat them really quickly if you were skilled enough? Well, goodbye to that here. I really hate these boss fights because they just drag on for way too long, and like, I don't know. I just don't find them to be very fun. Like, if I'm boosting, I should boost straight into the boss, you know? I shouldn't take a really long time to get to him regardless.